What's going on, YouTube? In this video I'm going to be going over how I keep my pool water nice and clear without tons and tons of chemicals. I know sometimes you go in somebody's pool and smell all the chlorine. I don't like my pool like that, but I do like my pool water clear. Some of the stuff I'm talking about today, I'm going to put it down in the description in case you want to click on it and check it out. You don't have to buy it. The three things I'm going to be talking about are the cleaning of the pool, the chemistry of the pool, and your circulation of your pool. If you keep them three things good, your pool water will stay nice and clear. So I'm going to try to tell you if I do this weekly, monthly, every couple weeks. You'll get the hang of it after you own your pool for a summer. Sometimes I might let it go a couple days, depending if the kids are in there swimming a lot. It really does help keep my pool clear. First thing I do is daily I come out and check my skimmer basket. Very simple. Just pull your basket out and dump your basket out daily. You don't have to get this perfect every time. So I do that daily. And I also take my net and try to daily come out here and scoop off some of the leaves before they drop to the bottom of the pool. I don't know if you can see, I have a few in the bottom of the pool right now. If you skim them off the top before they go to the bottom, it's a lot easier. All right, weekly, I also like to just vacuum my pool out weekly. Unless it looks like it doesn't really need it, but I try to do it once a week. It makes it a little bit easier than waiting 2 weeks and then you'll have tons of leaves in your pool. Unless you have no trees around your pool at all, you may not have to vacuum it out as much. Also weekly, I check my chemistry. You have to do this weekly. If you let this go for a month or 2 months, it's going to be a lot harder to catch up your pool and try to get it back to being clear. This is all I normally use, is baking soda. I use that to keep my pH and my alkalinity up. And I have chlorine, a bucket of chlorine tablets. Make sure you keep your lid on this and locked, because these things are very strong, so they're not good for the kids to be playing with these. And you might want to be wearing gloves when you open these up also. But I'll show you how I use these test strips. This is all I use. I don't get nothing fancy. Some of the guys will have big, huge test kits, but I've found in the last couple years it seems that this works just fine. I'll just take out one strip. I dip it in the pool for 15 seconds. And pull it out. And don't shake it off. Check it. The first one will be chlorine. So my chlorine is right about at 3 parts per million, which is good. Between 1 and 2, or 1 and 3 is good. And my pH might be a little low. Looks like it might be right around 6.8. So I'm going to have to add some baking soda. It looks like my alkalinity is not too bad. So that's how you test that. Real simple. This is all I do to keep my chlorine right at the level I would like it at, with looking at them test strips every week. I just have one of these things that float in my pool, and I keep a couple tablets in there all the time. If they look like they're starting to get low, I put another one. So sometimes I might have 3 in there with 2 small ones, and sometimes I just keep 2 in there. And that keeps my pool right around what I want. And I keep these things at the bottom completely open, and I tie mine off. So it floats right here, right before it goes into my skimmer. And it seems to work. So if my chlorine seems to start getting a little low, sometimes I'll take one of these 3-inch tablets and I'll stick it right in my skimmer. Or it's good to try to shock your pool maybe once or twice a month. People will shock their pools. So if my chlorine starts to get low, I'll just take a bag of shock and just dribble that around my pool. This one bag is good for 13,500 gallons. That's plenty big enough for my 24-foot pool. It tells you right on the back of your bag, if you buy this baking soda, if you have If your pH is less than 7.2, you put 3 to 4 pounds. That's per 10,000 gallons of water. I just follow this for my pool. My pool's a little bit above 10,000 gallons, but it seems to work pretty good for me. So mine's a little low right now, so I might just add maybe 3.5 pounds of baking soda. And I'll maybe check it tomorrow or check it in about 6 hours. Another thing I like to do, maybe weekly, maybe sometimes every 2 weeks, is I like to backwash my filter. You have to do this to keep your filter running properly. If you don't, it'll start getting clogged up. It's also real nice to backwash your filter after a real big rain, because every time you backwash your filter, you're going to be draining some of the water out of your pool. So if you get a real big rain and your water level comes up a little too high, it's a real good time to backwash your filter then. Instead of just draining some of your water out onto the ground, just backwash your filter and you won't have to be draining it out. I'm going to run through how I backwash my filter. Make sure your hose is pointed in a good direction so you don't get water like right next to your house. Maybe want to just, I don't know where your hose is, if you can run it to the back of your yard or in some rocks like mine. Mine's going to go here in some rocks. So this is how I backwash. Turn my pump off. I will switch the top up here to backwash. On my Hayward filter, backwash is all the way down here at the bottom. And put it on high for maybe about a minute, maybe 45 seconds. All right, let's call that 45 seconds. You guys don't want to see me backwash this for 45 seconds. And after you backwash, you're going to want to switch this over to rinse. Every time you backwash, you got to backwash and then rinse it. And rinse it for maybe 30, 45 seconds. I like to look at this little clear sight glass here, and usually all that sand in there will start to clear out. When that clears out, I'm pretty happy with my rinse. You might still have a little bit in there. Don't worry about that. I'll switch it back to filter. All right, a lot of people will keep an eye on their pressure gauge. These pressure gauges seems like they only last maybe a year, and you got to replace them every year. So I just got real good at going where your water discharges out of your pool. Not your suction side, but where it's putting water back into your pool, and I just kind of can tell if it starts slowing down, then I'll come up here and backwash. Or like I said, maybe just come up here once a week and backwash your pool. Now, when you do that, it's also good to check your filter basket. So make sure you have, I like to shut my valve. This is the line coming in from my skimmer, because if you don't shut a valve before that, hopefully you have some kind of valve hooked up, all your water from your skimmer is just going to keep coming out real quick. And then I can also close my filter, spot where it says closed, and then take this off. Now you might still have a little coming out. And check your filter basket. Mine don't look too bad. You could take this and run it under a hose if it's real bad. I think I just cleaned mine out the other day. And then put it back in. Make sure the hole is lined up where your hose is coming in. I don't think I can put mine in backwards, really. No. Before you put this lid back on there, make sure there's a rubber gasket down inside there. Make sure that gasket's still down in there and it didn't fall on the ground, or you're gonna have this leaking all over. And turn this back on. Now I never put this on real tight because it's gonna be a pain to get off, so just a little bit. Open your valve back up. Now I have a pump that has a low speed and a high speed. I just put mine on low. And I run this pump about every 12 hours a day. If you can, it's better to even run your pump 24 hours a day. But I found running mine 12 hours a day seems to work just fine. I have mine set up on a timer, and I just run on a low speed 12 hours a day. All right, after you get your lid back on, make sure you open your filter back up to filter. Don't leave that thing closed or it ain't gonna filter. And then turn your pump back on. I'm putting mine on low. So if your pressure gauge is working, right after you get done backwashing, check the pressure. So that's what your pressure should be running at when your filter is clean, which is normally maybe around 10 to 15 psi. So if your psi jumps up another 10 psi and you're getting, say, 20 or 25 psi, that might mean you need to backwash your filter also. Like I said, you'll get used to knowing when you got to backwash, or just do it once a week. It can't hurt it. But I don't like doing this too often because it does take a lot of the water out of my pool really fast. So then I'll have to add water to my pool. All right, that's how I backwash my filter. And if you have a cartridge filter, that's going to be the same thing, except you don't backwash a cartridge filter. You're going to take the cartridge out and spray it off with a hose, maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, or when your pressure goes up too high, you're going to have to take that out and spray it off. That's something I'd like to get someday, is one with a cartridge in it. People say they like them a lot better. Another thing to keep my pool clean is make sure your jets are angled so it's moving your water around. I have mine facing that way a little bit, and it's shooting down a little bit. So you can't see the water, but it's blowing the water out real nice right now because I just backwashed. In my skimmer, I like to keep it real close to this center screw right here. And that seems like a real nice level for mine. Maybe a little below, maybe. I don't like to go too much above that, but right around that middle screw is where I like to keep mine. Right now it's a little low, so I'm gonna stick my hose in and add some to it. All right, just to recap, cleaning your pool and keeping it clear is not that hard. Daily, you're gonna wanna clean out your skimmer and clean off the top of your pool with your net every day, if you can, or ask your kids to do that. Weekly, you're going to want to vacuum your pool out or run a robotic vacuum if you can afford one of them. I'll put one of them down in the description, and here's a picture of one. Check your chemistry weekly with the test strips, like I said, and backwash maybe weekly, or if your pressure starts to really rise. And every time you backwash, don't forget to check your pump basket and clean that basket out, just like your skimmer basket. And then every 1 or 2 times a month, I like to put some shock in my pool. It's also nice to put that in maybe when your chlorine level starts dropping down a little bit, because that's going to raise your chlorine a little bit. Well, I hope this video helped you out, and I hope you can enjoy your pool throughout the summer and you have nice clean water. Please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button to help support my channel. Thank you very much. God bless, and happy swimming.